Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Film Room Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 12. I'm your host, Joe Baress, along with my co-host, Scott Walsh, who is filling in for Joby Fawcett. Don't worry, Joby's okay, but no one better to replace him than the great Scott Walsh. Scotty, how we doing?
Good, Joe. I don't know if anybody can truly replace Joby, so or fill in for Joby. But I'm here this week, so glad to be here.
Absolutely. And we'll start out the show as we always do with our Times-Tribune Athlete of the Week, Cole Powell from Scranton Prep Golf. Cole, how we doing, man?
Good. How about you guys?
Good. Hey, thanks so much for joining us. What Cole did last week, quite a bit actually. He had a 7 under par, 137 over 2 days on the Penn State White course to capture the Class 2A individual golf title at the PIAA Championships. Shot a 4 under on the first day and a 3 under on the second day. Then he shot a 2 under to help the Cavaliers repeat as the Class 2A team champs with a state record score of 6 under 282. Just to start off, Cole, I always find it interesting with golf. You kind of start the season and it's warm, and then you reach this point in the season and, you guys are wearing Scullies. It's windy, it's cold. What was it kind of like for you handling the conditions down there at Penn State?
Yeah, it was definitely more challenging than a normal round of golf. Putting the weather into play, you have to change all your distances because the cold weather doesn't help the ball travel as far, so that can definitely play a big factor in playing well. So that was definitely a challenging part.
And tell me a little bit about, what it's like. What is it like playing down there? Like, what's the atmosphere like for you with, what's the crowd like? What's the atmosphere like down there?
Yeah, so it's a pretty good atmosphere because I have a lot of kids on my team that come out and help watch and support me as I'm playing throughout my entire round. So that's great. Definitely makes me feel more comfortable, and I guess I can say I have some people to talk to. So, yeah.
Cole, I obviously was down there, for covering the tournament. And it was a pleasure watching you for those 2 days because you played absolutely, flawless golf. I'm curious, looking back on the 2 rounds, was there one shot that kind of defined your 2 days, your tournament down there, where you felt kind of defined thing where maybe it changed some momentum for you, maybe saved you on a hole? I had one in mind, but I'm curious to see what you think.
Oh, yeah. So on the last day, par 5, 13th, my drive went pretty far left, and I had a punch out. It wasn't a great punch out. I ended up hitting the tree, and it kicked me back out to underneath another tree. And I had about 195 yards out with a 5-iron and some pine straw underneath a tree. And I kind of had to half swing it, but fully accelerate to get it to where it has almost as much power as a normal swing. And I put it to about 20 feet. So I'd say that's the momentum shifter for the entire week.
And that's exactly the shot I had in mind watching you, because that was at the time where the kid who wound up finishing second, Anthony Laboda from Fairview, he was he was making a charge at that point. And you maybe bogey that hole or have a bad score on that hole. Now it could be completely different. So I'm glad we're kind of in cahoots there, because I thought that was maybe the shot of your tournament as well.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Scotty, it sounds like a shot that you've hit in your golf career.
No, the best shot I ever hit was the time I got the ball in the clown's nose and won a free game. That's the best shot. That's the best golf shot I've ever hit.
That's my speed too. Absolutely. Yeah, Cole. So, what would you say, if anything, improving from last season to this season, where did you see your biggest improvement in your game from last season?
Yeah, so I gained a lot of distance since last season and accuracy, which was a huge part. Getting both of those in the same time is a great advantage that, can get you closer to the hole and can get you, you can hit the ball further and get closer to the hole to where you have wedges commonly into par fours.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cole, I guess the incredible thing too is, you win a state title and then you come back the next day the team wins a state title. I'm just curious, what is it like being on this team? It just feels like anybody could be the top scorer at any point. You have Brendan Bell shooting a flawless 4-under round, incredible round. You follow up with a 2-under. Ben Boyanowski shoots 1-under. Guy Rothery shoots 1-over. And I thought Bobby Stott still had a great round. Started off not so great, but then shoots 1-under over the next 16 holes. I mean, what is it like playing against this team? Is there like a friendly rivalry with you guys? You're trying to be the top guy. What is it like being on this team?
Oh yeah, no. So it's a great team. We're definitely a very well-rounded team. So we have a lot of balance throughout the entire roster, which is great. Yeah, I would definitely say there's a little bit of a friendly rivalry going on during all of our matches just to see who can come out on top. That's kind of what keeps us going really the most, because throughout our entire regular season, we honestly don't have too much regular competition. But when we get to playoffs, we really decide to like lock in and focus up and just try and come out on top. We usually don't care as much when we're in those more serious situations of who's the top scorer.
After Cole, after not only winning the individual title and then obviously the team title, just kind of what's it been like, in the last couple of days? One, what was it like coming off of 18 after you sank that par putt to secure the championship, and then two, getting back into the area. You guys had another police escort back to the school. Well, what was you had an assembly celebration the next day. What's it been like in the last 5 or 6 days with all the accolades you guys have been receiving?
Yeah, no, that team win was just pretty much the cherry on top, and it just made everything a lot better than what it honestly even needed to be. Definitely made it more fun. It definitely made it much more honoring, and being able to come home and everyone celebrating with us is just a great experience, and very grateful for all of that.
Absolutely. Sky, do you have another one?
Yeah, just to follow that up, you have a young team. You have a lot of guys coming back. You do lose a couple of seniors, but you do have a core group coming back. Has there been talk about, and not to put the pressure on it right away, but making it three in a row as far as team champions?
Yeah, no, there definitely has been a little bit of a talk since we do have such a young team, like you said, and we're really just trying to focus up, keep working over the winter, and keep grinding, and see what the future brings us. And if it brings us another state championship, well, that'll be great.
Yeah, Cole, just to kind of piggyback off that, what do you do now? Like what's your off season like? Like obviously it'll be winter, so you probably have to, get in work on simulators and stuff. What do you do now in between seasons?
Yeah, so I usually try and travel a little bit. I usually work out during the winter about 4 times a week, maybe. And yeah, I definitely hit a lot of balls in the sim at my house, usually every day, if not definitely 5 times, 6 times a week. So that definitely plays a major part of staying consistent and, yeah, getting better and improving over the winter.
Yeah, Cole, like, obviously, the one part of the game is obviously, talent, honing your skills, but obviously golf is a big, big mental game. And, when I'm out there, and I'm a terrible golfer, man, but when I'm out there, I get frustrated with myself, and that's just playing for fun. How do you handle the mental aspect of the game?
Yeah, so I mainly just try and stay pretty calm throughout my entire round. If I'm usually starting to get worked up about something else, like a certain shot, certain hole, I usually just try and forget about it and try and think of something else to get my mind off of it. Usually try and talk to the other players that I'm playing with and just start a conversation and get my mind off of all the other bad things.
Cole, being down there, I kind of had when I was following you on the second day, I had the pleasure of walking and talking with your with your mom and dad, and they were kind of living and dying with every shot you were making and everything. Your mom was funny. With 3 holes to go, I said, "Hey, all he's got to do is par out the rest of the way and put the pressure on the other kids." And she was just like, "But no, I want birdies. It makes my stomach feel better and everything." But just talk about what obviously having your family there and what your family's kind of meant to you, and maybe the role they've got they've played in your golf career.
Having my mom and my dad there is great. The role they play is unlike no other. The love and support they show me is incredible, and I couldn't ask anyone else to do it. And them traveling, take the time out of their day, taking work off, taking time out of their day to get me lessons, get me workout times in, and just improve me is just something I can not express how grateful I am.
Absolutely. Cole, when did you start playing golf? How did you get into the sport and kind of develop a love for the sport?
So I probably got my first plastic club, whatever you want to call it, right around when I was 3 or 4. So I had a golf club in my hands for most of my life, honestly, and it was kind of just a thing my dad gave me, see if I liked, and I ended up falling in love with it, and it was something I wanted to do almost every day. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And something I found interesting about your Athlete of the Week interview you did with Scotty, athletes you admire, you have Scotty Scheffler, who's probably the best player right now, but you also said Tiger Woods. Now, I'm just curious because he's the person who got me into golf, and I'm like double your age. Like, well, how'd you become a fan of Tiger Woods? Did you, have you watched like older footage of him and stuff? Like, how, what kind of made you gravitate toward Tiger?
Oh yeah, so I've seen a bunch of his highlights, and I've also heard many stories about him, and I've seen and heard many stories about him. His attitude is just really, really, really cool. His desire to win is unmatched, and his attitude, like, he has such great sportsmanship too, which is a great aspect, and having the desire to win and the fierce attitude of him is just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. He got me into golf, and I don't know if I should thank him for that or be upset with him about that, because like I said, it's the most frustrating game for me. But I'm just curious now. This is really early here. I mean, you're only a sophomore, but obviously you said you'd love to play college. Is playing professionally something that maybe you'd like to strive for, or something that could be on your mind at this point?
Yeah, no, definitely. I would definitely love to get to professional golf and make that my career, but that really comes to determination after college or right when I'm about to go to college. So I have a couple more years to think about that mainly, but yeah, it definitely started to cross my mind, and yeah, definitely looking from now into the future, I would definitely love to see myself playing professional golf.
Yeah, definitely. So Cole, I don't know how much you follow the team, how avid of fans you are, but there's a huge Penn State fan base around here. It's been a very interesting season, to say the least. What are your thoughts on this season of Penn State football? You have any thoughts about it?
A roller coaster. Yeah, so the start of the season was great. Just after the Oregon game, it all went downhill. I thought that was going to be our only loss for a very long time until I saw the UCLA game. That was just hard to watch.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, Scotty was actually at the Northwestern game.
I got to see the end of the Franklin era live and in person.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. So Scotty, go ahead. You got something.
Yeah, well, in addition, you said when we talked yesterday, and you said you're a Penn State fan. You're you like the Phillies in baseball, the Sixers in basketball. But I'm curious. You said you like the Washington Commanders in football. How'd you get to be a Washington Commanders fan?
My dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was back obviously when they were known as the Redskins.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
Well, it's good.
So how do you think they got a big game Monday night against the Kansas City Chiefs? What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, that game tonight is gonna be great. I just hope we don't get blown out. I'm gonna be honest. I just hope we keep it a close game.
Yeah, no Daniels tonight quarterbacking.
Yeah, I know that's gonna kill us. But Marcus Mariota's been playing pretty good, so we'll see how he does.
That's true. Hey, man, listen. At least you're not a Jets fan, which Scotty is.
Yeah.
So,
hey, we can hold our heads high. Mondays like this are rare when coming off a win.
A big win for you guys. Yeah, a big win. And hey, man, the Sixers are 2-0. Trust the process.
Yeah.
That Edgecombe looks really good.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. So, all right, man. Scott, you got anything for Cole before we sign him off here?
No, I talked to him enough the last couple of last week or so.
I'd say so.
Which has been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Which has been a pleasure. But I think I'm all questioned out. I don't think I've got anything else for him. So,
absolutely. Well, hey, Cole, listen, thanks for taking the time today to join the show. We really appreciate it. Hell of a week last week and hell of a season for you guys. Congratulations on everything. And hey, good luck. Have a great off season, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you guys right back at it again next year.
Yeah, thank you guys. My pleasure.
Absolutely. All right. So that
congrats again, Cole. Take care.
Thank you guys. See ya. Have a good night.
You too. All right. So that was our Times-Tribune Athlete of the Week, Cole Powell, Scranton Prep Golf. Scotty, I mean, you had mentioned it, that you were down there. You got to cover it. I'm just impressed from afar, just how good this team is, how composed this team is, just the way they play. I mean, not just Cole Powell, but Brendan Bell in the team, in the team tournament, shooting a clean round, four under, 4 birdies, 14 pars, no bogeys. I mean, this team, you got to see it. You got to see them. I mean, what, tell me a little bit about this team.
Well, obviously they're just, they're very good golfers.
Yeah.
Okay. They play, they play together, all summer. They're, so they, and the big thing too is and I asked Cole this in the Athlete of the Week interview, is camaraderie. They, by hanging out together, they build relationships and everything. And, I saw, on that day, on the second day, Cole is playing his round, and he's got 3 or 4 of his teammates walking with him. And they've got, and they have they have a football. Now, Cole wasn't catching the football or anything like that, but, as they're walking down the green, down the fairway and everything like that, they're tossing around a football, and they're there supporting him, and they're like if he makes a great shot, they're there, they're supporting him, high-fiving him and everything like that. And, maybe if he did feel any nerves, and he said when the par putt went in for him to clinch the title, the weight of the world come off his shoulders. And I tell you, he certainly didn't look. He looked calm, cool, and collected the whole.
Yeah.
He really kept his emotions in check the whole tournament. He said that's something he's been working on, and but maybe a big part of it was because his buddies were there.
Yeah.
They were there. If he did hit a bad shot, they were there to maybe crack a joke or. So I think what makes it, not only, they're great golfers, but I think that they have a bond and they have camaraderie. And, they came into this season with a mission. They had everybody back from last year's championship team. They wanted to repeat, and they did it. And not only did they do it, they did it in record fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the cool thing about it too, and you kind of touched on it, is it's just that, a lot of these golf teams, they have their number one, and then they have, this prep team is just incredible that they have such great golfers. And like you were saying, there's no egos of, I'm the number one guy, or I'm the, it's like, as we saw, Ben Boyanowski had a great season in and of himself.
Yeah.
Our first Athlete of the Week this year. It's, you had Brendan Bell had the best day on Wednesday, and you've got, even Bobby Stott, just coming in, he shoots 1 under on the last 16 holes. Obviously he wished he had a better start that day, but it's just, any of these guys can win, and it just doesn't seem like, there's, it's great to see that there's no egos, and there's that camaraderie, like you said.
Well, and here's the thing too, like Brendan Bell didn't qualify for the individual tournament.
Yeah.
And Jack Pavic did, but didn't play in the team tournament.
Right.
And it's almost like they have interchangeable parts.
Right.
They don't lose anything when one guy is inserted, or one guy's in the lineup and one guy, and one guy isn't, and everything. Bobby Stott either didn't make the individual tournament.
Right.
But obviously played a key role in them winning the championship. So I think that's it. They're all good golfers, and they all kind of are maybe, like I said, interchangeable. They've got a great bond, a great relationship. It doesn't seem to be any rivalries or any egos,
right.
or anything. Like I said, they were all supporting each other. And the other thing too, what was neat to see, there was a lot of past players who maybe made the trip. There was a pretty big gathering around the 18th hole of Scranton Prep people watching Cole finish it off. Parents and everything like that. It was so there's a connectivity, a family there, kind of.
Yeah.
And not only congratulating Cole, but congratulating his parents and everything like that. It was pretty neat to see. So yeah, that's. I think that's the reason why it's just a special group, and I certainly wouldn't be surprised if they pull it off again next year.
Absolutely. I was just going to mention, they're young, they're returning most of their team, so it's you'd expect them to, the expectations will be high. So yeah, Scotty, I was cheered on one time at a golf course when people were sitting. It was the 18th hole at Homestead, and I hit this like 25-foot putt, and there were just two people, sitting, on a porch or something, and they started to cheer. So that was the greatest golf moment of my career.
Should have walked away at that point.
You're not kidding. Should have hung the clubs up. That's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
So Scotty, I really want to commend you. I think that, a lot of things people don't know is, we have such earlier deadlines now for print that Scott spent Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, covering the first 2 days of state golf, and then driving back and getting the district cross country, which we'll hit on in a minute. But I just want to, seriously, I really want to commend you for, your great coverage and, hitting those deadlines, man. I mean, that's a tough job, and you did it day after day. So great work by you.
But I appreciate that, but it was, making it easy when you've got a story to write about a state champion. That made it easy. It would have been a lot tougher if and I want to point out too, not only did we have Cole winning a state title and the prep team winning a state title, we had Ben Boyanowski finish in ninth and winning an individual state medal in Class 2A.
Yeah.
And we had two girls. We had Arden Brunn from Holy Redeemer winning a state medal in 2A girls, and Lila Jones from North Pocono winning a state medal in Class 3A. So when you've got kids that are succeeding, it makes it an easier story to write. And when it's when if we had our best finisher was 40th or something, that's when it's a little tougher. It would be a little tougher to write that story. But it's real simple and real easy when you've got great performances to write about. So.
That's true. No, you're right. And geez, see, like we had such a great week, not just in golf with athletes this week and teams. It's funny, see that I was about to overlook Ben Boyanowski and Arden Brunn and Lila Jones, which are like great accomplishments, but it just kind of overshadowed it. So that just tells you how great a week our athletes had. And Scotty, I want you to kind of talk a little bit about the District 2 cross country. The Lackawanna League had a big day down there.
Yeah, they did. A dominant day for the Lackawanna League. They had 5 of the 6 individual winners race winners in the of the 6 races that are there in districts. They took 9 of the available 10 team spots that District 2 gets for the state tournament, and they had 28 out of 50 individual qualifiers. So it was a banner day. Some names that you've heard over and over again. Kendall Jones from Elk Lake won his 4th straight title, and I don't have, unfortunately, we don't have the records, going back far, but I'd say might be the first time somebody in District 2 has won 4 straight district championships.
Yeah.
I don't want to, there's a lot of runners who've won 3, but he's won 4 in a row. And, it's really, really, really impressive. He won the boys in 1A boys race, and, and Elk Lake, went 1, 2, 3 in the 1A race to take the team title. Cody Adams finished in 2nd, and Parker Upright finished in 3rd. So Elk Lake had a great day. They had a great day on the girls' side too in Class 1A. Kendall Wisegold won the individual title, and the girls took the team championships. Class 2A in boys, Mid Valley won the team title, repeated as team champs. Lake Lehman finished 2nd. That was the only Wyoming Valley Conference team that earned a state berth. And Mason Stout from Crestwood was the one Valley winner in the individual races. Mason ran a great race and repeated as Class 2A champ, finishing ahead of Jacob Borelli from Mid Valley. Class 2A girls was a heck of a race, tight race. Closest one, Valley View edged Wallen-Paupack for the team title by 2 points, 60-62. Sadie Loftus led the way for Valley View, winning the individual race. And then in Class 3A, the machine that is Abington Heights girls kept rolling along. They won the team title over Crestwood 35-43. Anna Pusilowski won the third district title of her career. And then on the boys' side, West Scranton's Seamus Wallace won the 3A boys title, finishing ahead of Aiden Janowitz from Wallen-Paupack, who was last year's champion. And it's been quite some time. I think it's been since 1985 was the last time a West Scranton runner won a district championship. So congratulations to him. And but Janowitz finished in 2nd and leading Wallen-Paupack. They dominated the rest of the race. They had their next 4 runners come in a row. It was, I think, 8, 9, 10, 11, and they easily won the team title with 40 points. So we had another great showing, at districts, and I'm expecting another great showing down at States on Saturday, down in Hershey. I think Elk Lake boys have a legitimate shot at winning a state championship. Yep. I think the Elk Lake girls have a shot and maybe getting on the podium, either first or second. I think we have a number of kids who can come away with state medals, finishing in the top 25. So it should be another big day for the Lackawanna League in cross country. And there are some individual runners from the Wyoming Valley Conference who are going. Runners like Katie Kozic from Crestwood. I think Mason Stout. I think they can. They certainly are in the mix for state medals as well. So it'll be hopefully another big day down at Hershey for District 2.
Absolutely. Scotty, how's the weather looking for Saturday?
I thought I saw it was supposed to be sunny, about maybe in the 50s.
Good.
But then I saw possibly some showers, maybe some showers early. So
no.
Yeah, no, you don't want rain, but you want to know something? I think the condition, if it's around 50, 52 degrees, I don't think that'll be too bad for the runners running. I mean, there have been some days I've been down there where you've had unseasonably warm days, and it's been like almost 80 degrees, 70, 80 degrees. And these poor kids are just dropping at the finish line because it's so humid and everything. So I think, I think a lot of it depends, not to become a meteorologist here, but I think it depends on that. There's supposed to be some sort of hurricane coming up the coast.
No, that's right.
Or something. And I think it all depends on where that goes and, what kind of rain, if we might get rain, whatever track it takes. I don't know, but it remains to be seen. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, I think you probably know better than me, but I think runners actually would prefer it to be cold than even for the sun to be to be out, kind of like you were saying. You've covered plenty of marathon and cross country, Scotty.
Absolutely cool, rainy condition, even a little bit of rain.
Yeah.
As long as it's not a driving rainstorm, if it's like a drizzle or a light, like that's not bad. I mean, the best would be cool, dry conditions and everything. But yeah, if it's in the when the first race starts, if it's in the mid to upper 40s,
right,
that's ideal. They want those cool conditions. But like I said, I've seen it where as the day progresses and it gets hotter, and before
right,
now it's 65, 70 degrees, which I don't think it's going to get that on Saturday.
right.
It's that's where it's like you really feel for them, because they are. It even happened last year at districts. We were talking about it at the district cross country meet this year. It was so humid. And you're thinking, oh, great, it's a great October day. And I actually remember coming from the golf the 2 days before, and the conditions were, everyone was bragging about, oh, this is perfect. It's like 75, 80 degrees, perfect golf weather and everything like that. And then you go to the cross country and they're like, oh God, it's 75, 80 degrees.
Right.
They're dying,
Yeah.
And it clearly it was affecting the runners. And this year the district made sure they were handing out water to all the finishers coming across the finish line, but they didn't really need it, because it was very windy, and the sun kept peeking up kind of in and out, but it was cool the whole day.
Yep.
So it was I think the conditions were good, and I think they're going to be good on Saturday down in Hershey.
Excellent. So that covers golf, that covers cross country. Might as well get into District 2 soccer. I was able to get out to a couple games last week, and lucky for me, they were some really good games in the Class 2A quarterfinals. Hanover area played against Riverside at Triborough Soccer Field, and it's kind of one of those games where it could go either way. It was a battle, and it's kind of like the difference could be a hustle play here, like, a play here, a play there. And really the player that, to steal from our colleague Joby Fawcett, the hidden hero of the of that game is Mikey Schimmelfinnig. He comes up with basically a hustle play. He's battling for the ball, loses control on Hanover's side of the field, and he just keeps fighting for it. And eventually he's able to get a foot on it, get the ball into the box, try to chase it down, and he forces a penalty in the box, which equals a penalty shot. And Johnny Chillery is able to finish it off, give Riverside a 1-0 edge. And later on, Nick Bohenik, boy, he could kick the ball. And he
could throw the ball pretty good, too.
I was going to say, he's pretty good at baseball, too. So he unloads a ball onto the goal. Their goalkeeper makes a really nice save, but it's unfortunately for him, it deflects in the direction of Johnny Chillery, who finishes it off, gives Riverside a 2-0 lead. And it was a great goal by, I believe it was Basir Isaac of Hanover area. He just kind of curves in a ball at the top of the box, just perfectly placed. It hits the post, makes the game 2-1. It was the only time they were able to beat Michael Burke, though, of Riverside, who had just a phenomenal game in goal for Riverside. They're able to move on to the semifinals. There's a bunch of semifinal matches tomorrow. Riverside's going to host Tunkhannock in that Class 2A semifinal. Lake Lehman is hosting Dunmore in the other Class 2A semifinal. And speaking of Dunmore, I was able to get out on Saturday to the quarterfinal match between Western Wayne and Dunmore. And again, another great match. Personally, I was very thankful that the sun was out, so that was nice for me. But it was a beautiful day, and Liam O'Malley of Dunmore had a great game in goal. Also, Garrett Malikin had a great day in goal for Western Wayne. So it's really just a matter of who's going to break through. John Lee Jean, Athlete of the Week this year, he was honestly having he was struggling a little bit. He missed a penalty kick to the left, and he was, Western Wayne was playing great defense on him, and he kind of took a shot to the ankle, had to hobble off for the rest of regulation. Game goes to overtime. Russell Toole puts a great shot on goal. It deflects off a Western Wayne defender, and John Lee Jean's able to collect it and put it in the back of the net, giving Dunmore the 2-1 overtime victory. Just a great game. And like I said, they advanced to the semifinals. I also want to shout out, like I said, Russell Toole had a great game. He had a penalty kick and, like I said, the assist on the game-winning goal in overtime. And I was shocked that he's only a sophomore. I had assumed that he was, at least a junior, but he carries himself like he's a leader out there, which is big for Dunmore, and they're going to need it against a very good Lake Lehman team. The other matchups, Class 1A Old Forge will be at Mountain View. Holy Cross will be at Wyoming Seminary tomorrow. In Class 3A, Dallas will be at North Pocono. I believe that's where I will be tomorrow covering. And also Pittston area will be at Abington Heights. The Class 4A Boys Championship, Wilkes-Barre area at Wyoming Valley West, is tomorrow. I believe our colleague Tom Fox will be out there. We have some, when it comes to the girls, we have some good matchups. A rematch in Class 2A on Wednesday of Western Wayne and Wyoming area, which Wyoming area handled pretty well in their first matchup this season. Mid-Valley at Lake Lehman, two very good teams. Dallas at Crestwood, and I'm always excited for a Valley View at Abington Heights matchup. This will be in the semifinals in the great Class 3A. Like I said, Crestwood's an excellent team. They're the 1 seed. But yeah, Valley View at Abington Heights. They've had 2 close matches this year, one that ended in a tie, as you heard over the loudspeaker, Scotty.
Yes, with John Hens's Veterans Memorial Stadium in not too far from where I live. I can hear the PA system whenever something's going on, a football game, even like they're testing a graduation or something like that, a band competition or whatever, a soccer game. Yeah, I hear it all. So
it's fantastic. Yeah. And I just accidentally continued the tradition of giving away where all of us live. So
yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So sorry about that.
Well, you didn't give the address.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
That's true. It's a wide variety. I gave away that Joby lives right next to Scott Green's. So
yeah. Well, that's a little different. They're living in within earshot of Hendon Stadium. So.
That's true.
So, I gotta ask you a question here. When you were talking about John Lee Jean getting hurt in that game, was it like in the professionals where he writhed on the ground forever and they brought a stretcher out and carried him off and then he came back in and scored the winning goal? Like in pro soccer or whatever it is, So I mean, those sometimes when those guys get hurt, they look like they got shot or something.
Exactly.
So
yeah. Credit to John Lee, who really he walked off the field and absolutely battled it out. No, he didn't. He's not like the professionals who, yeah, you're right. It's like they got shot and then 30 seconds later they're on their feet. Trying to get whatever call they can.
Yeah. And you mentioned in the Hanover Riverside game, you know why Mikey Schimmelfennig had that hustle play.
You tell me, man.
He's a cross country runner.
That's right.
State qualifier, finished 4th in class 1A. So this could be a big week for him. Maybe help Riverside win a district soccer championship, and then maybe go down and medal. I believe he medaled again. He medaled last year down at state. So I think maybe get another state medal in cross country. So a two sport athlete there. Good job by Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. That's seriously, that's so impressive. I don't know how they do that. I mean, you obviously have the soccer players who also kick for the football team, but it's like another level when you play a soccer game and then you run 3 miles or 3.1 mile or whatever it is. It's just impressive.
It makes sense. They might run 3 miles during a game.
That's
in
true.
Soccer back and forth. And in the field. And who do we have last year from Dunmore? Tommy Clark.
Tommy Clark, yeah.
He did that too. He ran cross country and was very successful, and clearly he was a tremendous soccer player. So
Exactly.
So it kind of makes sense if you're going to do all sorts of running around back and forth.
Yeah.
For them to, and I'll put it this way, that when, the cross country coach or the soccer coach know they're getting their miles in or their
That's
laps
true.
if they miss practice, they know he's at a meet and he's running 3.1 miles. They're getting their running in. So
it's just another day at the office.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So some great matchups in soccer. Like you mentioned on Wednesday, that the Valley View Abington Heights girls matchup. You almost kind of wish that would be in the final.
Exactly.
Instead of the semifinals.
Exactly.
I know Crestwood and Dallas have something to say about that as and everything. But yeah, that should be a great one. You mentioned Western Wayne and Wyoming area. Western Wayne, I know, had to come back and rally against Honesdale in the quarterfinals.
Yep.
To be the tough Honesdale team and everything, and Mid Valley's got some good players and everything like that. So there's some good matchups in the girls and some good matchups in the boys as well. Dallas, North Pocono, Pittston and Abington in 3A, and you mentioned Riverside and Tunkhannock and Dunmore and Lake Lehman in 2A. So
Yeah, I mean, and you said it, Scotty, and it's again, the girls class 3A is just it's just a gauntlet because Crestwood's a team that beat Abington this year. I think that was only one of Abington's 2 losses, and then obviously the tie with Valley View. Any of those teams could win. I saw Crestwood last year, and they could have won a district title. It was an absolute slugfest with Valley View that ends up going to penalty kicks. So anything could happen there. It's going to be really, really exciting. Can't wait to see it, Scotty. Can't wait to get out there.
Good.
So yeah, we also were both at some football games this Friday, and kind of want to start with mine. I kind of end up having the game of the week here, North Pocono and Scranton Prep. Just a great football game, Scotty. I mean, you've seen both of these teams. They're both excellent teams.
Actually, I did not. I've seen Prep, but I did not.
Oh, you haven't seen North Pocono?
I did not see North Pocono this year. No, that was one team I missed this year.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, when it comes to North Pocono, they're an excellent team. They're a well balanced team. They got a great line, and they just, I was impressed with, obviously you should come to play every game, but ultimately this is a team that wrapped up the Division I title, wrapped up the number 1 seed in their classification going into this game. They, I hate to say like you didn't have anything to play for, but like all they had to play for was to finish off the regular season undefeated, against a hungry Scranton Prep team, an excellent Scranton Prep team that was at the time fighting for seeding in their class. So for North Pocono to come out here and get a victory, it's great for them. It adds to, it's always great to get games like that and know how to win. And this was a team that you could clearly tell that, Scranton Prep had a great rally. They came back, take the lead with about 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. North Pocono drives down the field, 4th and 7. They have a great play where Chase Zimmerman, their quarterback, ends up lining up as a receiver, and Cole West in the shotgun is able to hit him in the back of the end zone, give them the lead. And, Cole West made an interception to seal the victory. I mean, it's names we've heard, but, it absolutely means something when they step up in these big situations against great teams. It's going to help them down the road. And, shout out to Scranton Prep. They played a great game. I was thrilled that I got to be there for it. But North Pocono, they get over the top, complete their third undefeated regular season. And, it's just a great win for them. I just thought that win showed character and really showed what they're capable of. If they hadn't already, I mean, they've played a bunch of great teams. That Division I schedule is a tough schedule, and they won every single game. So North Pocono, just a great season so far, and we'll see what happens with them.
Yeah, and you talk like now with playoff time,
Yeah.
those moments are gonna show up in the playoffs.
100%.
There's gonna be there could be a time where in a district final they find themselves down 3.
Yep.
Or they face some adversity, or if they happen to advance onto the state tournament, they're down 7 with 8 minutes to go, and we're down 4, and they need to put that drive together, and they can lean back on those moments, like against Scranton Prep, like the week before against Delaware Valley,
Yeah,
where they
Yep.
where they won in overtime and everything, and if they weren't challenged during the season, when you get into those moments during the playoffs, it's like, oh, how are we going to react? But but now that they've been through it, it's like, okay, hey, we've done this before. Let's stay calm. Let's do it. We can do it again. And so obviously big. That's big heading into the postseason.
It's absolutely a confidence builder. You're absolutely right. As if they needed more, but now they know they can. They could win in any way. They could win close games. They could win.
Yeah.
They know how to win, and that is huge, like you said.
Well, all that's got to be said in the huddle, in that situation is, hey, remember Scranton Prep,
right?
Remember Delaware Valley, remember, just to bring it. That's all they got to say, and
right.
they know they've been in that situation, and they can try to get the job done again.
Absolutely, we're fine, guys. We're fine. Let's just do it again.
Yeah.
So, Scotty, you were at Valley View in their victory over Wallenpaupack. What'd you get out of that game?
Valley View's defense was really stout in that game. I mean, they really came to play. They stymied Wallenpaupack's running game. I really like Wallenpaupack's running backs, Ed Keezendahl and Logan Caruso. They're short, they're stocky, but I mean they're quick and they're tough to bring down. But yet Valley View did a great job of containing their that running game. They got pressure on quarterback Rafferty the whole a good portion of the night. They made they got the momentum. It was a scoreless game in the second quarter, and they get an interception that sets up their first touchdown, and then just kind of set the tone and gave them the momentum and everything. And at one point I think they wound up allowing, I think, 143 total yards in the game, but 50 of that came on the final drive when Wallenpaupack scored and spoiled the shutout.
Yeah.
Okay. So up until that point, they had 93 total yards and like 5 or 6 first downs. They did a really good job of keeping Wallenpaupack out of the end zone, because Wallenpaupack's defense actually didn't play badly either. I mean, they gave Valley View a lot to handle. I mean, Valley View scored, as I mentioned, the interception was returned to the 8-yard line. So they gave up a touchdown on a short field. And Valley View came out in the second half and established its running game. Drove down the field on the in the opening drive of the third quarter and scored to make it 13-0. And then again, they ripped off a big run. I think it was Tristan Smith ran 63 yards to set up down to the 5, and then he scored on the next play, and that made it 20-0 and kind of sealed the win and everything. But Wallenpaupack's defense did a good job of containing Valley View too. So the Cougars really needed that defensive effort to kind of keep them in the game until the offense could get on track, and they did a really good job. So be curious to see, can they ride that defense into the postseason, and against a don't look at their record, but a decent Dallas team.
Yeah.
I mean, Dallas, I think they got a good team. Their record may indicate otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And these are two teams that are very familiar with each other. Just big games in districts all the time. And like you were saying, I'll just add to it. Dallas, I feel like if not just last year, maybe the last few years, they kind of start the season off a little slow and they hit their stride once it's the postseason when it's most important. So, I mean, this is, like you said, this is a very good Dallas team. It's a very good Valley View team. That should be a very, very good game.
Dallas started the season 1-5.
Right.
You know, and their losses: Jersey Shore, Wyoming area, Abington Heights, Pittston area by a point, North Pocono. You know, so they didn't lose to, you know, any patsies. I mean, they lost to some pretty darn good football teams, and they've won 4 straight to kind of get things pointed in the right direction again, get some momentum heading into the playoffs. And this is, I believe, it's a rematch of the district final from last year.
I think you're right. Right. Exactly. There are a few good games coming up. Well, it's playoff time. I hope there would be.
Yep.
So, you know, we've got Lackawanna Trail going up against Nativity BVM in the Class 1A sub-regional semifinals. Class 2A, we got Lakeland hosting Holy Redeemer, Riverside hosting Dunmore, and in a rematch of a game that I covered in week 1, where, you know, honestly, that's going to be a great game. It went to overtime the first time. Riverside's able to kick a field goal. Santino D'Amico ends it in overtime. And that's honestly a game that Dunmore outplayed Riverside, and Riverside made a few plays, you know, to tie it and then get that victory. But that should be a very good game. We also have Hanover area at Berwick, Scranton Prep at Wyoming area. That should be a great game in the Class 3.
Another rematch of last year's championship game.
Yep, exactly. So that should be fantastic. We've got Class 4A. We got Crestwood at North Pocono, as we had mentioned. Dallas at Valley View. Class 5A, we got Valley West at Abington Heights. Delaware Valley at Pittston area. Pittston's been a very good team this year, and Delaware Valley once again hitting their stride later in the season. And in Class 6A, we have Hazleton area at Wilkes-Barre area and Scranton at Williamsport. Scotty, any of those games stick out to you?
Well, you were talking about that Dunmore Riverside game. I'd be very curious to see how Riverside responds after last week.
Yeah, true.
Against Lackawanna Trail. I mean, those teams playing for the for division title, and wow. I mean, I'm not surprised that the Lackawanna Trail won.
Right.
Because they're a very good football team, but I think the margin by which they did it was a little surprising. So I'd be curious to see, how Riverside responds coming off of that. And we mentioned, Prep in Wyoming area is the rematch of last year's district final that Prep won. The Delaware Valley and Pittston should be a very good game. You mentioned DV, hitting its stride, and Pittston Aries had a very good season. So are a lot of good, intriguing matchups, a couple of rematches, and should be this is the fun time of the season.
Yeah,
the postseason. This is where it gets interesting. This is where it gets to be really fun. To be out there covering a game, because it's win or go home for
right.
And everything for these teams. So
I should mention, Scotty. We try to mention this when a lot of, athletes have a great week, and especially some repeat athletes. Isaac Ryan had 370 yards on 13 carries and 5 touchdowns against a very good Riverside defense. So, he was already an athlete of the week. They could only win the award once a year. I just want to be clear that he had a big day. Gabe Duda had 384 yards and 5 touchdowns in a win over West Scranton in a thriller, a 41-40 thriller there. He nearly broke the LIAA and school record for rushing, which is held by Shane Smith of Holmesdale, which he set back in 2003.
Joe, how'd you like to run for 370 yards and that be the second most yards?
Isn't that crazy? Exactly. Oh, I must have had the most. No, not this week.
No, top that. Gabe Duda says, "Watch this."
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Oh my goodness. And of course, Scotty, as we know, we also had some more volleyball milestones. We've got McKenna Zick, 1,000 career assists for Blue Ridge, Abigail Gellinger, 500 career kills for Blue Ridge. Kate Pryor, Delaware Valley, 500 career digs. She's also an excellent wrestler, our returning girls wrestler of the year. And Michaela Hughes of Delaware Valley, 1,000 career assists. I believe Lauren Beamer got 1,000 career kills as well. Geez, you know what's crazy too, Scotty, is like I haven't even mentioned that Scranton Prep tennis won a state title.
Yeah.
Last
Oh,
week
by the
as
way.
well. Yeah, it's like an by the way.
Oh, by the way, yeah, no, but just to touch upon the volleyball, obviously they're in their playoffs too. You got some, there, some semifinals going on Monday and Tuesday. But what a week for Scranton Prep athletics.
Yeah.
Their golf team. They have an individual state champion and a repeat team champion. And then the tennis team goes out and says, "Watch this," and wins their second title in 3 years. So, congratulations to the classics on capturing the gold in Class 2A tennis.
Exactly. So, listen, a heck of a week. We've hit our hour. We've gone over for about 50 seconds, but I really think that, again, I've mentioned it multiple times, but what a week for teams and athletes last week, and this week it's going to be even more. We've got the opening of the district football playoffs. We're going to have soccer district champions. We're going to have state cross country on Saturday. You'll be there. We've got a lot more coming this week, Scotty.
Let's hope last week kind of laid the foundation and set the tone for what will be a very successful fall postseason for our teams around here.
Absolutely. So, be sure to follow us at Times-Tribune.com/sports. Follow Joby's Facebook page, Joby Fawcett, the Times-Tribune. Follow the Facebook and Instagram pages, Times-Tribune Sports. Follow us on X at SportsTT. Follow Scott Walsh at Scott TT. Is it S Walsh TT?
That's Walsh TT.
Yeah, sorry, I had a brain fart.
And Joe, little self promotion here. Check out the Scott Spot. On social media, wherever games I cover, I try to put together a little recap, and it's been a couple of weeks been doing it, and it's been pretty well received so far. But always want more people checking it out and everything like that. So check out on X and Instagram and Facebook the Scott Spot.
Absolutely, Scotty. Hey, I'm enjoying it. So but yeah, I think that's Scott. Am I missing anything?
No, I don't. I think we covered everything. Unless you want to talk about the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins off to a 7-0 start.
Goodness, undefeated, Scotty. Undefeated. Let's go. Let's go, Pens.
I know.
So yeah, exactly. But other than that, I think we could sign off here. Scotty, I appreciate you taking time out of your day here. I know you got to immediately get back to work here. Well, this is work, but get back to work with everything else you're doing. So I really appreciate you taking the time, filling in for Joby. Always a good time talking to you, my friend.
No problem. It's been my pleasure, Joe. I wouldn't mind doing this more often, So
Hell yes.
Yeah, maybe how they in Monday Night Football they have a 3-man booth.
That's right.
We could try a three-man podcast on a time. So,
that's not a bad idea, Scotty. It's not a bad idea. I love it. So, all right.